Hi everyone, it's John Heath here again for MiltonRose Learning with another Let's Learn video on Jekyll and Hyde. So it's a bit of a beginner's guide today. So we're going to look at some of the basics of the novella, then we'll look at some of the key context to try and get those high marks, and then we'll also look at some of the key characters just so we can get an initial grip on the kind of people in the narrative. So first off then, if we start with some of the basics. So first off, in terms of genre, it's very much a gothic horror, blending together mystery and psychological thriller to create a bit of a mishmash kind of genre here. And through this, Stevenson explores quite complex concepts, such as the duality of human nature. So the psychological idea that we have the conscious side of us, the rational side, and the subconscious, which is prone to be doing anything and he's not doesn't follow the normal rules. Repression within Victorian society, where they couldn't let their true personalities out, so they had to repress them because of the strict moral society, which we'll talk about in a minute. And the dark side of Victorian respectability. On the surface, Victorians look very prim and proper and posh, but Stevenson was very interested in actually going, well, if I probe a little bit deeper through that respectability, are they really as nice as they look on the outside? So that's really explored within this novella. Okay then, so in terms of plot summary, let's have a little look at what happens. Now, first off then, it revolves around a character, a lawyer called Mr. Utterson, and he is investigating a mysterious and quite violent figure of Mr. Hyde. Now, Hyde is connected to the respected Dr. Jekyll. Indeed, they are the same character. They are two sides of the same coin. And Utterson becomes kind of increasingly intrigued by this kind of these two characters, and he's friends with Dr. Jekyll. However, as we can see in that kind of interesting laboratory, Dr. Jekyll retreats to his lab more and more and becomes increasingly secretive and withdrawn. Then as the narrative continues, so many shocking crimes kind of happen throughout the novella, and Utterson discovers that Jekyll has been using a special kind of potion to transform into Mr. Hyde. Okay, so like I say, they are the same character. However, everything spins out of control, as it normally does in a gothic text. And unable to control the darker side of himself, Jekyll loses control and he's unable to change back into from Hyde back into himself. So it ends in his tragic death. So a kind of a warning to us all in some ways. So with that in mind, let's look at some of the key context then to try and get the high marks. So first off then, we've got Victorian society. So it was extremely strict, Christian, moralistic kind of thing, you know, a lot of rules to follow in Victorian society. And reputation, they were kind of obsessed with it. You had to have a good family name, and honour was very important. So therefore, with all these social rules, if people did have any darker desires in any way, they tended to hide them behind a veneer of respectability. Okay, so it looked a lot nicer than things happening maybe behind closed doors, and Stevenson was quite eager to kind of look effectively behind those closed doors and look at people's kind of deeper desires in their subconscious. Then moving on, we have science and discovery. So this was a time of rapid scientific progress. Okay, people were pushing forward in all sorts of kind of, you know, biology, physics, chemistry. We were finding new things out every day almost, and this kind of raised fears in Victorian society, because they were then worried about, with all these scientists kind of running around learning new things, are we kind of trying to play God and actually tampering with the natural order of things, with nature itself? And will that lead to calamity and problems later on? So there's a real social anxiety about science kind of taking over. And Stevenson, again, plays on those anxieties. I think that's very clear with Jekyll when he takes the potion and turns into Hyde. And then the last piece of context that you need to really worry about is the duality of man. So psychoanalysts were kind of opening up the human mind in this period, really, and just after as well. And they kind of had the belief that we all have a consciousness, our rational, normal selves, but we all have, almost in the back of our brains, we have a subconscious. And the subconscious was kind of things that don't follow social rules and don't follow morality and could leave any of us open to committing evil acts. And the Victorians were very fascinated by that idea of the subconscious and the potential evil that could be lurking within it. So a really fascinating psychological concept there. Then in terms of the characters, so let's dive in and have a look at some of the key characters for this beginner's guide. So first off then, the star of the show, so Henry Jekyll. So he is a respected scientist and a gentleman, but he struggles with his inner kind of demons almost, that subconscious that's dying to get out. So he creates a potion to separate his good and evil sides, or the conscious or the subconscious. And he loses control of that as a result. So therefore he represents the dangers of repression, but also, more importantly in my mind, the duality within human nature, the idea that we all have that conscious and the subconscious within us, and that's really explored through the character of Henry Jekyll. Then the other side of Henry Jekyll then is Mr. Edward Hyde. So Jekyll's violent amoral, meaning he has no morality, alter ego. So he is free from all guilt and any social constraint. This guy could do anything and not care about it at all. Okay, so throughout the novella he commits cruel acts with no remorse. He doesn't really care at all, and from a Christian kind of Victorian reading of it, he would be the pure embodiment of evil. From a psychoanalytical reading though, he would represent the subconscious. So therefore in some ways it's kind of he is our instinct and the kind of hidden subconscious side within us all, which is quite a profound kind of thing if that comes up in an exam question. Now the next character, Gabriel Utterson, he is a loyal lawyer, and he's a friend to Jekyll, and he's determined to uncover the truth. He's a really good narrative device in that sense. He pushes the narrative forward. So he's calm, he's rational, he's morally upright, and he serves as a lens through which the story unfolds. That's a lovely phrase. You might want to kind of use that in some of your essays. And therefore he symbolises reason, duty, and the traditional Victorian ideals of respectability. He would be extremely well respected in Victorian society for his morals and the way in which he lives his life. Then moving on, we have Dr. Lanyon. So he is a traditional scientist and a former friend of Jekyll. They used to get on quite well. However, he started to move away from him because he became so shocked and appalled by Jekyll's weird and wonderful experiments. So he actually witnesses Hyde's transformation. So he sees Jekyll turn into Mr. Hyde, and he becomes traumatized by it because he's like, oh, he can't believe what he's seeing. So he symbolises the clash between conventional science being normal and just pushing us forward technologically, and dangerous ambition where we try and twist science and actually try and maybe push it too far. So he symbolises that kind of conflict in some ways. Then last two characters, we have Sir Danvers Carew. So he is a kind, elderly, respected member of Parliament. So he's a politician, quite an important guy. But he's brutally murdered by Hyde in an unprovoked attack. Okay, there was no reason for it, and Hyde just killed him. So he symbolises innocent kind of Victorian respectability, and his death, someone so prominent as an MP, highlights Hyde's pure evil and the horror of uncontrolled violence if we let our subconscious take over. And I think Sir Danvers Carew really illustrates that fear and social anxiety that the Victorians had. And then lastly, Mr. Poole. So Dr. Jekyll's loyal butler, but he grows suspicious of his master's behaviour in the lab and kind of messing around with potions and things like that. So he actually investigates Jekyll's locked lab and ultimately helps Utterson uncover the truth. So again, he's a bit of a narrative device pushing the narrative forward. and he represents loyalty, concern, and the growing fear of hidden evil in the heart of the home. So he's kind of almost in some ways kind of part of the moral conscience of the novella. Okay then, so obviously it just remains just to say, obviously, thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and tap the bell icon. It really helps us out to grow and gives us the inspiration to do even more videos. So just as a final thing as well, we've obviously done the basics, we've done some of the key context and the characters, and hopefully given you a nice beginner's guide to Jekyll and Hyde. So hopefully see you soon, and take care.